Can you say your first name for us?
My first name is Dillon, Dillon. Gartner, Gart as in Tom, Ner.
Can you tell us what your dreams were as a child?
My dreams growing up as a child, they're simple. Like every, Central Nebraska kid, I wanted to go play in the NFL. I wanted to play in the league. I wanted to go to Division I school. I also wanted to own a huge ranch. I grew up on a ranching ag-based family. Dad farmed, my grandparents all ranched. And, like I said, my dream was to be in the NFL. I was told at a very young age, you have all the talent to do it. And you have the body and the physique to be there someday. But that was my whole goal growing up, was to be in the NFL someday.
Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood?
It was a pretty typical childhood. My dad, he was a truck driver the whole time. Mom, she worked a bunch of odd-end jobs. She cleaned houses. She worked at a tomato factory. He was gone most of the time, just trying to provide for our family and stuff. There'd be times he'd be gone, 2-3 months at a time, but yet, he was still home all the time to watch every football game, every sporting event for me and my little brother. At a very young age, I grew up around cattle and stuff. I could tell you everything from a cow that there was at age 8. I did my first C-section on a cow when I was 13. I pulled my first baby calf when I was 8 years old. I learned real quick how the reproductive system worked just through cattle and livestock and horses and all that. But no, it was pretty typical. I mean, it was a loving family. I mean, we weren't the going to church every Sunday type family, but, we were always working, and Mom was always there. We always had dinner and stuff together when Dad was home. Grandparents, like I said, they lived half a mile from us, so we always spent time with them all the time. But I'd say it was a pretty typical childhood growing up.
What about, can you tell us a little bit more about your relationship with your dad, just in general?
My dad's awesome. I mean, the more I've grown up, I see the similarities between me and my dad way more now that I have a son and all that, and I'm married with a child. They come out and, he's taught me so much. I mean, he played football at University of Nebraska. He was a walk-on in the 80s under Tom Osborne and stuff, and that was my goal, was to go to Nebraska just like Dad did. Yeah. But like I said, things didn't work out that way. But I mean, he just taught me the whole time, just keep your nose down, grind, you'll get through it, and just be there for the people that want you to be there and stuff.
What about your mom?
My mom's a saint. I'm scared of her to death, but she's a saint. She's a loving mom, but she would crack the whip because Dad wasn't always home. I still remember when I mouthed off to her once. I was in high school. I was already 6'4", about 280 pounds. My mom, she's 5'3", 5'5" on a good day maybe. And I mouthed off to her, and she smacked me so hard one time. But looking back now, I deserved it. I was rude. I was disrespectful to my mom. And 16-year-old me, you couldn't tell me anything. I thought I was bigger and better than everybody with that mentality. Growing up, I was told how good I was at sports. She humbled me real quick. But my mom's a saint. I love my mom to death. I would climb any hill or mountain for my mom. She's taught me how to love. She's taught me how to be just a better man, how to treat people, how to show kindness and love, but yet there's some toughness behind it, and a little bit of tough love goes a long way too.
Can you talk about your first love? It's whatever you associate with your first love. So it can be person, place, thing, hobby.
My first love was ranching by far. I grew up, like I said, my grandpa, he introduced me to ranching. I was owning my own cattle by the time I was 4 years old. I had 4 cows growing up, and my herd expanded and eventually expanded into rodeo stock, where my grandpa and I, we were owning rodeo bulls and stuff like that, and got into that a little bit. But I mean, the most peaceful time for me was going out, a Saturday morning early, checking cows during calving season, and you see a reward come out of that at the end of the year. You see, baby calves being born. You see you take it in the sale barn and market and you sell them. We did 4-H growing up a lot. I showed cattle. You spent all summer with this calf working with it, and I'm not saying like all kids that did 4-H cheated it, but like my grandpa made me spend time with this calf, and you end up building a bond with this calf. And then it was even better when it was a heifer, a female cow. You saw her grow up. She had babies, and then her babies go on, and it's just a reproductive cycle that, it's just it showed so much love to me that way. And like I said, just seeing the benefit of raising cattle and stuff like that. And it taught me, again, how to be loving, nurturing, but yet not all cows want to agree with you. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I learned so much growing up through cattle and stuff like that. It taught me life lessons I still use. I wish I had the opportunity. My son could have that same opportunity, but living in Lincoln, Nebraska, there ain't very many cows around here. We all farm out here.
What about your first heartbreak or loss?
I think my first real big heartbreak came when I was 18, when I got my ACT score back and I wasn't cleared to go to the NCAA Division I schools. That was kind of the kick in the butt that, you could be as good as you want to be, but I didn't pay attention to my grades near as much as I should have in high school. So I had to take an alternate route, and that was going through the junior college process. And looking back now, I wish I would have paid more. I wish I would have listened to my mom on that way. I wish I would have took schooling a lot harder like my little brother did. He's now working on his master's degree now, or he just finished a master's degree in financing. He's working for a huge bank here in Nebraska, and he makes so much money. But yeah, that was the real first heartbreak, when I had all these Division I schools from Miami, Alabama, Iowa, Nebraska, all sending me letters wanting to talk to me. And then when I got that ACT score back and I didn't clear it, that was the real heartbreak, but eye-opening experience I think I really had growing up.
How was that? It seems like it's a childhood dream, and you don't score well enough. It kind of crushes that dream a little bit, and you have to go.
Well, it was crushed. But there are other ways. Like I said, I went the junior college process. I went that route, and it led to a whole different type of lifestyle. I went to Iowa Western and Council Bluffs, and it was, like I said, I came from a town of 3,000 people where you have cattle and all that stuff to a actual city like Council Bluffs, Omaha, and it was an eye-opening experience. Me, mentally, I was not ready. I was not expecting that, and it got me into a whole different type of world that I never should have been involved in. But there was, like I said, it hurt, but I learned so many more lessons through that way, through the JUCO process, especially after I left Iowa Western and went to a smaller JUCO down in Kansas, which I still love that town. It was a town of, I think, 3,000 people called Fort Scott, Kansas, and learned everything. Had opportunities to go to Division I schools out of there and stuff, but then a medical problem hit where I couldn't do it then.
How was that transition from a small town then going to, do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Like, how was that contrast?
Well, what hit me the most was when I got there, I was surrounded by a bunch of people that were from different walks of life. I never smoked marijuana until I got to college. I drank in high school, but not to that level. And I was a psychopath about it. We were doing cocaine, we were doing marijuana, pills, all that stuff. I had surgery there. I was on painkillers. I got addicted to painkillers, and I was a wreck. I was a mess and all that stuff, and I thought I was just done. At that point, I didn't really, honestly care what happened to me. And the greatest thing that ever happened to me at that point was when my mom came and got me. Mom came and saved me, and she wanted me to go meet the pastor, our church. They were living in Giltner, Nebraska this time. And this pastor, I fought it, did not want to go talk to him. I'd tell her I wouldn't talk to him, never would go do it. I'd go do what else. And then finally I did, and he was a cool dude. And I'm telling him, what I was doing in college, all my story and stuff like that. And I remember Bruce looking at me and said, there's one scripture. He goes, I know you don't think you're that religious right now. That strikes me, and that's Matthew 11:28. Come to me who are weary and burdened, and I shall give you rest, which hit me so hard. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm tired of that lifestyle. I don't want to do that no more. I want to relax. And it meant so much to me that I even got it tattooed on my body, under my arm and stuff. And yeah, that was just, and Iowa Western was a mess for me. I never, like I said, probably never should have went there. I was looking for a quick get out of jail free card going there and stuff, but it also taught me other life lessons too. It taught me, it's not hard to say no to things. I learned that in my job now. It's not hard. You might, make some people mad and stuff, but my well-being was better than what they wanted me to do.
Who would you say first taught you what love is and how?
That's my grandma. Grandma taught me love right away. No matter how mad I was at the world, or if I got in a fight with my mom or dad, I could go to my grandma and always vent to her about it. She'd always have, brownies, cookies, all that stuff there for me and my little brother. She would comfort us. I mean, we could do no wrong in Grandma's eyes. Grandma was the most loving person there was.
How did that make you feel? Having that love and then as an adult reflecting on that.
It's nice. I mean, it's hard now because both my grandparents are still alive, but they're going through dementia and stuff. And that's hit me pretty hard because they don't remember that. They don't remember all that stuff. But I mean, the memories for me are there of that. And it helps, looking back at old photos and stuff like that. Seeing me, Tucker, my little brother, my grandma, my grandpa, going on a vacation trip somewhere like South Dakota or Colorado, and seeing the pictures of all of us with the cattle and all that stuff. I mean, it was crazy because for them, we were their first grandkids after their son passed away and stuff. So we got all the attention, we got all the love. We were the only grandkids that they had. And so they gave us every little bit of love they could.
How do you define love?
To me, love's a feeling. It comes from within. I know, like when my son was born, that was the most loving feeling ever. When especially seeing my wife when she pushed him out and stuff, and then just seeing this 6-pound baby is like, what am I gonna do with you? But nothing. Like I said, I came over with so much emotion when he was born, and just wanted to love him, show him everything, protect him, and like I said, to me, love's a very big internal thing, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
How is it internal if you wanted to go?
It comes from the heart. I think when you get those butterflies in your stomach and all that, I think and your heart speeds up. Especially for me, that's where I find my true love at. Like I said, like every time when my mom gives me a hug, even I'm 29 years old and my mom gives me a hug and I still feel her love. Or my 3-year-old son when I come home from work and he's like, Dad, you're home. I mean, you can't help but smile. You can't help but feeling that inner love coming out.
What's a bad day look like for you? And how do you get through that bad day?
Well, I actually suffer from hearing voices in my head quite a bit. And they come at different times. I'd say they started back at Iowa Western, hearing the voices and stuff where, you hear all that negative talk and you're not good enough. Not so much suicidal thoughts, but, just get it over with and all that. And how I get over it, or quiet them at least, is I go to the gym. I'm a professional strongman. I compete all over the country and soon to be all over the world here pretty soon. Traveling to, big cities like Daytona Beach and over in West Virginia, Dubuque, Iowa, and all that, where I just get my pro card at. And that's my release, my getaway is going to the gym. A bad day can be from anything from hearing the voices to where I work at. I do security. I work at a prison where it's not the nicest world there is. But for us, an easy day is a good day. But like I said, the voices in my head, I'll be honest, I heard them 2 days ago. I haven't heard them since then. But to get over it, I just go to the gym and work harder. And just, I basically punish myself, if that makes sense. A little bit, in a way.
You think that's interesting wording. One, I'm curious to know, when you do hear the voices, what does that consist of? And then, obviously you have a positive outlet working out and, turning that into something, a net win.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you navigate that? I would assume you can't fight it with your own thoughts, right?
No, exactly. You're exactly right. I mean, like I said, they say anything from, your wife's cheating on you, you're not good enough at your job, you're small, you're weak, you're not strong enough, there's 1,000 guys better than you, and all that. But I try to keep the gym as positive as I can. The gym I go to here in Lincoln, is a super good, positive place. I mean, they train everybody from professional athletes to your third grade kids that are just getting into sports. And especially seeing all them little kids there when I'm working out. I mean, I'm lifting huge weights. I'm lifting odd objects. I'm pulling trucks, heavy stones. I'm deadlifting over 800 pounds. And then when you see all these like kids swarm around just to watch something crazy happen, and they're cheering you on as you're pulling that weight, I mean, that's where they go away. That's where all them voices, everything else in the world, all the negative stuff just goes away, especially when you have, like I said, like 8-year-olds that are screaming for you and they can't believe you're doing that and stuff. And it just enlightens you. It makes you feel so much better. And like I said, it pushes everything in the back of your brain, especially once you get the lift. Even if you don't get the lift, they still cheer you on too. Like, oh, you'll get it next time, Dillon. You'll get it next time. It's fine. And especially when you have, even like I said, like even the pro athletes, they sit there and watch me. We got guys in the NFL that go there all the time in the NBA and they watch me lift and stuff, and they're amazing. I'm not even on that level of like a Brian Shaw or Eddie Hall, but we're getting there, and they're just, it's cool because like they're saying, oh yeah, we're watching your come up. This is your come up, man. You're gonna get there, and you hear a little bit of praise, and it just quiets everything in your head for a little bit.
So you said you do security at a prison. Does that mean you're a correction officer?
Well, I do security on the side at a bar, but at the prison, I was a corporal for 4.5 years. Yeah. And mostly there, I worked with kids from age 18 to 24. And now I'm a recreational specialist where I get to work in a gym with a bunch of our inmates. And me being the back.
It's inmates you get to work them out? Like?
Yes and no. Yes and no. So they come to me and ask me for tips and stuff like that, and I give them all the tips in the world. I want to see them do good. I don't want to see them, to me, like I said, like from what I go through on a day-to-day basis, I can only imagine what they're going through, being locked up and stuff like that. And I know if I sat at a 9x10 all day, I want to go work out, and I know just doing burpees and up-downs isn't going to be enough. And we have some free weights. We go bench and a squat rack and all that. And once in a while, I got to get under there and show them who the boss is. We got to go out at it for a little bit. We had a bench press competition about a month and a half ago, and I think the guy that won it, he put up 455, but when I started doing A&R, I think he could barely get like 325. And, sat down with him a bit, worked with him, like, get your feet like this, don't get all rammed up, relax, you're calm, it's fine. And like I said, now he's putting up 455, and the dude only weighs like 195 pounds. And he's just chiseled, and like I said, like I love seeing that aspect of that job. It's way better than when I was a corporal because you get a benefit out of it too, seeing these guys grow and get bigger and all that stuff.
What's been a humbling experience for you?
Probably when I got diagnosed with my enlarged heart at Fort Scott, because I knew football was no longer an option for me of playing that sport. The sport, like I said, I grew up playing football since I was third grade. Watched my dad, I heard stories of my dad when he played in Nebraska and all that stuff. And when I got diagnosed with that enlarged heart, it was the hardest conversation I have with a coach and my mom and dad too. I probably cried my eyes out at least 3 or 4 times a day for like 3 weeks straight, knowing that it wasn't my choice, it was over. And now it's like, okay, now we're in the real world now. There's no more playing sports in college. There's none of that. And it brought me to reality, and it humbled me down. Like, yeah, the NFL, your dream of being in the NFL's over. It just got shot down right away.
How'd you deal with that?
I was drinking a little bit. I wasn't doing drugs. So at that school, there was a rodeo team they had there, and those were more my group of people to hang out with. Like I said, growing up with my background and stuff, I went to them, and I drank a little bit, and then finally it was time for me to move back home, and I did not find the weight room like that until later on when I was working at the prison. But it was hard. It wasn't easy. Like I said, I wouldn't say I was an alcoholic. I wasn't drinking. I would never say I was an alcoholic. I never would sit in the house and just sit there and drink, a bottle of whiskey by myself. But I was going to the bars in my small town. I'd go to the bar 3-4 times a week. I wasn't getting, hammered every time, but I'd catch a buzz and walk home and all that stuff.
And you just kind of waited for kind of
I was
to pass.
I would say I was depressed for probably a good solid 2 years of that. Eventually, I moved to Lincoln in with a bunch of friends and started working at the prison.
How
And
was that working at the prison? Like besides the guts, what about the bad stuff? Some of the bad stuff. Working at the prison. There's got to be some bad stuff.
yeah,
You don't got to air it out, but you can say it in general.
there's bad. Yeah, there's bad stuff. I mean, like I said, like a boring day at a prison's a good day.
Yeah, for sure.
It's good, but being 6'5", back then I was 265 pounds. You got to do a lot of cell extractions where we'd suit a 5-man team up. If a guy he's refusing to come out of his room, or he's harming himself, we have to go take him out. And the prison that I work at, we have a lot of mentally ill guys, where we'd have guys that would, cover themselves in feces and all that. That was a bad day. That was a really bad day. But like I said, like I started working there and stuff. I was there for about a year and a half until I found the weight room. Because one of our sergeants, he used to be a powerlifter and he's a bodybuilder now, and he's like, you kind of got to get into something. And I told him, like, I've tried sand volleyball, I've tried softball. It's not cutting, it's not competitive enough for me. And he goes, well, maybe you should try powerlifting. And I tried powerlifting for a second. I go, no, this isn't for me. And then I found strongman, which is like, like I said, like you see on the old ESPN at late nights, picking up stones, pulling trucks, carrying heavy sandbags. That's what I found. And I kind of just, ran with it for a little bit and started going to a few local shows and figuring stuff out, asking a lot of questions. And then finally I figured it out. And then once I started doing the lifting stuff, that's when the depression started going away a little bit. And I started to find myself again. Like my mom, she even said, like, you're smiling again. You haven't smiled like this in 4 years now. And now you found something. And then at that same time, my son was born and stuff. And the reason why I've stuck with the weightlifting thing was because the NFL thing wasn't going to happen. It was done. It was over. But this is something I can give him to look forward to when he's, 16 years old. Like, yeah, my dad was a 2-time Nebraska strongest man. He was 17th in the world. He's 3-time Midwest strongest man. And hopefully it gives him something to look forward to someday too. Like if he wants to do that or not, I'm never going to push him to do anything he doesn't want to do. But, it's a little bit of brag. Like my biggest brag growing up was my dad played in Nebraska.
How was that? How was that feeling when you started to actually feel the joy of lifting and kind of, when you're doing something you love, you start loving other things a little bit more, and you start kind of works in tandem with what you got going on. How was that feeling for you when you started smiling again?
It was awesome. I still remember the first show I won was in Des Moines, Iowa. And it was about 4 months into me lifting heavy and stuff, and I won that show, and it started paying off a little bit, and then we started hitting bigger numbers, and finally, the most gratifying show I ever went to was out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I won that show, and I met a lot of good connections out there who put me in more connections to get me into the pro circuit shows, the pro-ams, where I'm at now. And now it's like I go to these shows and everybody knows who I am. It's the best thing. It's like hey Dillon, how you doing? It's like a family reunion type deal, because like that's the difference between strongman and powerlifting. Is like powerlifters, they're kind of more on the ego side where they're sizing each other up the whole time, which we do too in strongman, and it's an ego sport. But like you start building these relationships, and that puts a little bit of joy into your day when it's like, oh hey, I'm going to this show in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I get to see Vaughn and Jordan. I get to see all these guys that have helped me along the way, or I get to see Ken McCollin and stuff like that. And even through all that, I got to meet one of my heroes of strongman growing up, who's been in it forever, and I got to meet him. And that just, I was starstruck. Didn't want to meet him at first because I fanboyed every minute when I saw him.
What's the hardest thing you've been through?
When my best friend committed suicide on my birthday. 4 years ago, he took his life. We worked at the prison together, and we were gonna go out that night to a couple bars, have a good time. I was going to the gym, working out before we went out, and then his brother called me and told me that Austin took his own life. And he was my neighbor too. When I was working at the prison, we lived in the same apartment complex, and just not seeing the signs really at first, I blamed myself a lot for it because, like I said, we hung out all the time together and all of that. Just never saw it, and then for it to happen on my birthday was one of the hardest things ever, and it hurt a lot. Like I said, I blame myself a lot for that too, and I still do. I can't lie about that. I blame myself for it, even though I know it wasn't my fault, and if he probably was gonna still do it anyways. But trying to be there for somebody, and it still happened regardless.
What would you say were some of the signs? Hindsight's 20/20, but
He didn't want to go out near as much. He didn't like when we first started working together. We were going to strip clubs and all that stuff together a little bit because that's what he wanted to go do. I didn't spend my money on it though. I'm just saying, but he didn't want to hang out no more. He didn't want to go shoot guns no more. He started like giving stuff away more, and that's the first. I should have saw that right away. He had a really, really nice whiskey collection, and I collect whiskey. Like I said, I don't drink all that often, but he had a really nice collection. He just gave it to me like 3 days before my birthday. He started like giving a bunch of stuff away, had a huge garage sale and all that stuff. And like I said, I looking back now, it's like I said, it sucks. I should have saw the signs. And his brother and me both said that too, but we weren't, I don't want to say like knowledgeable enough to see it because we work at a prison. You can kind of see signs when guys are going off the rails a little bit, but you just never thought it was going to happen to somebody that you really loved like that.
I think it's tough to see the signs,
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of us, we have bad weeks.
Yep.
He's selling stuff. He's just downsizing, right?
Yep.
Those signs are tough. I had a cousin who hung himself, and just one of those things that it just hits you. I think that the self-blame. I remember seeing my auntie, for months and months and to years, she'd just still be weeping and asking why and how and just don't have an answer for it.
Mm-hmm. And the hard thing is tombstones don't talk back.
I visited his grave,
Mm-hmm.
He definitely didn't talk back.
Yeah.
But I visited his grave a few times, to kind of honor him and to, we all have the whys, and I know for me, I definitely went through a real deep depression and I wanted to kill myself. So I kind of saw eye to eye with him. Like I can see how you're hurting so much inside that you want it all to end, that
Mm-hmm.
you just want the pain to stop. And, for me, I just made peace with it by saying, I'll honor you by living my best and for being kind and having an open ear. I'm not Superman, but I can be a better person.
Exactly.
So, for this next question, if you can go in your mind and think this life event could be mental, physical, or spiritual, can you tell us about a time in your life that you relate to the word war?
I'd say every time I hear the voices in my head go off, I'm constantly having a battle with them in my head. Like I said, they're telling you you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, and it's always trying to reassure myself, like, yeah, you're strong enough. You're, like I said, 2-time Nebraska strongest man. You're 3-time Midwest strongest man. And they're just sitting there like, no, you're not that strong. You're not that guy. You're small. You're weak. Just give it up. Quit this thing. And it's constant, like I said, like it's like a battle of demons and stuff like that. And where I've been trapped in my own head and stuff, and sometimes it feels like you're just a puppet on their strings and stuff like that, and it's hard to get control back of it, and from you to be the puppet to the puppet master and stuff like that. And the hardest one was, I remember when I was stuck at trying to deadlift 800 pounds for like a solid 4 months, just couldn't get it and stuff. And you hear the voices saying like, ha ha ha, I told you, mother effer, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. And when finally you hit that number, I mean, it's the biggest two fingers up, middle fingers up to the voice in your head, like, see, I told you. Or I still remember I had a girl that broke my heart. She went back to her old boyfriend where she actually picked him up when I was with her to go out to eat and stuff, and left that Pizza Hut in Wahoo, Nebraska. And they were going out the whole time, like, see, told you it was going to happen. She was going to break your heart again. You dumb, you dumb effort, all that stuff. And it just, the voices, like I said, it's like a battle every day of trying to, sometimes you feel like you're this big and they're this big. And then it's just, one step at a time, bringing it back up where you can eventually get back on top of them for a little bit.
After the 800, were they like, now you got to hit 805?
Actually, I hit 800 for 3 that day, for 3 reps. So I kept them quiet for a while. They didn't come back for a little bit. They left that one alone, especially when I pulled it for 3 reps. I actually didn't know there was 800 on the bar. My best friend put it on the bar for me. And when I pulled it, I thought I only pulled 790 for 3. It was to get into this pro show in Florida. I thought it was only, like I said, 790 for 3, because I pulled 790 for 4 reps before, and it was an online qualifier show. Pulled it, and he goes, by the way, that was 810 pounds.
Ooh.
I go, what? He goes, yeah, it's 810 pounds. And we had to literally pull all the weights off and weigh him on a scale.
Yeah, to know.
On the video. Yeah. Well, you either video it and then send it off. And I go, holy shit, you weren't lying. Yeah. And, oh, yeah, that was the craziest. Like I said, they didn't talk for a while about the gym.
What are some other ways that you cope with that situation that doesn't require like physical exertion? Do you have a more like a softer approach sometimes?
Oh, I go fishing. I will, like I said, the gym is my big hard, kind of screw the world. This is my place for a little bit. But if I just want, that little bit of peace, I'll go out to the lake and I'll go fishing or hunting for, 10, 15 hours, where I'll leave the phone in the pickup. I'll, like I said, I just get rid of everything and I'll just sit there in my own thoughts. Now, granted, when I do that, I do hear them voices pop up, like they're coming around a little bit once in a while. But it's more of a talk with me versus them kind of type deal. It's not so much angry aggression voices. It's more of, like, hey, it's like a whole different type of voice. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the negative voice. It's like, hey, maybe you should call your mom. Maybe you need to go call grandma. Maybe you need to go home for the weekend and go check up on them. Call your brother, or call your best friend, make sure he's okay and stuff like that. It's just weird how, like I said, there's like 3 voices really in my head, and one comes out when negative stuff happens, but when I'm at peace with myself and just want to be alone, like I said, like it kind of feels like it's my Uncle Tim who passed away. I never got to meet him, but it's like kind of like not so much a voice, but an angel sitting there on a rock next to you as I'm fishing the jetties and stuff, fishing for catfish or crappie. And I've caught myself talking to myself about that stuff before, like talking to the voice out loud. I don't know if that makes me crazy or not, but
we'll have conversations with ourselves.
Oh yeah, I'm sure some people look at me like, "What the hell's this guy doing over there?"
Better a peaceful one than angry.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you feel that peace when you're out? Like
Oh yeah.
It's a palpable feeling, right?
It's just an awesome feeling. Like I said, I went fishing this weekend and stuff. And I just went to this, I went to a little canal by myself, nobody else around me, and left the phone in the pickup. Told everybody, hey, I'll be back, I'll be fine, whatever, I'll be gone for a little bit. I tell my mom because she worries the most, especially when I'm out hunting and stuff. You got bow, it's cold out, I'm in a tree stand, stuff like that, and she worries, which is her job. But there's just times where, I want to sit there, and I can go all day without catching a fish or shooting a deer or anything. It's just being out in the world alone for a little bit, and you get that fresh air. You get, you can hear it's like your senses, like they're up a lot more. You can hear every little noise. You see the squirrels running around. You see birds flying, and there's many times I've seen, even when I'm hunting and stuff, I've seen a big buck walk out, but I didn't shoot it because I had just so much, I want to sit there and watch him for a while. Enjoy what God gave me in the world for a little bit right there.
Now, for this next question, it's the same type of question. If you can go in your mind and think, this life event could be mental, physical, or spiritual. So can you tell us about a time in your life that you relate to the word peace, and you may have already.
Like I said, I can backtrack it too. As a kid, when we would have a new full-born baby horse, and you saw the mare, the mare just gave birth and stuff, and you're watching that little guy just get up and move around and stuff, and it was just, again, I'm outside, I'm in the world, and I'm enjoying everything, and it was great to see, nature, the outdoors, and something like, especially with the cattle and stuff, something, and the horses, something that you worked your tail end for in the wintertime, feeding, nurturing them, You're waking up 3 o'clock in the morning to go check cattle and stuff because heifers, firstborn cows that have their first calf, often have problems giving birth. But you're waking up, or I still can remember when I was 16 years old going and check cattle and stuff, and this calf was born in a snowstorm, and he was about 1.5 miles away from our shed, and I just loaded him up and put him in the pickup with me so I could warm up a little bit. And you got this, 80-pound black Angus calf with his head on your lap at 16 years old, and it was peace, it was love, it was all that stuff, all in like one little bundle growing up.
What's one of the happiest moments in your life?
When my son was born. My biggest thing was when my wife, before we were married, we were engaged, and she got pregnant. But she told me she was pregnant and stuff, and being a dad wasn't a thing yet for me. I wasn't ready. I didn't think I was ready there yet. But when he was born, like I said, the amount of love and all that just hit. It was just the greatest feeling ever when it's like, wow, like I said, what am I going to do with you? All 6.1 pounds of you.
What inspires you?
I think my dad still inspires me the most out of anybody. My dad or my grandpa, like I said, my grandpa, he grew up working ranches his whole life. My dad truck drive, like their work mentality inspires me a lot. But what keeps me going the most is my goal is to be competing at World's Strongest Man someday and get to that top level performance. Since the NFL wasn't a thing, this is my next thing. This is something I can find I can be really good at and shine in and stuff. And it keeps me pushing harder. I got United States Strongest Man come up here in September, and I just started prep for it, right now I'm 308 pounds. I'm going to bulk up to 375 pounds for this show. Just, to get a contract and get some money coming in for this stuff. It keeps me going, and seeing all the, people that are going to this show. A lot of these guys I've looked up to for a little bit, and now I'm on the same stage they are finally. And all that inspiration and stuff is what keeps me going, wanting to push new boundaries and push new levels and drive my body harder and harder.
How do you define success?
I think success, no matter how good or bad you are at anything, as long as you're pushing yourself still. Like I've seen a lot of guys, especially through strongman, that aren't that strong, but they keep going. But when they hit a new number, like a new PR, like for instance, like one of my clients, his deadlift's like 500 pounds, but the day he hit 600 pounds, granted, which is not a pro level deadlift, whatever, but he was so happy and he felt that success. And me as a coach, I felt that success that we finally got him over a hump at least. I think when you hit your own goals in life, no matter how big or small they can be, that's what success can really be to somebody.
Imagine you're in the hospital today with only hours to live. What would be your regrets, if any?
I think a lot of it is not spending enough time with my son. Like I said, I'm driving right now, especially with how young he is. He's only 3 years old now. It hurts that, Dad's gone a lot. Dad works a lot of hours. Dad works at a bar on the weekends, so he sleeps during the day most of the time on the weekends. He works at the prison on the weekdays, and he goes to the gym. It's hard knowing, and I think my dad would say the same thing too, is missing a lot of your child's early childhood stuff. And hopefully, someday, he'll appreciate, I appreciate my dad for the sacrifice he made and stuff like that to provide and put food on the table and stuff like that. But it's been tough on me not seeing him or my wife near as much as I would like to.
Do you think you could change that in the future?
Yeah, I definitely do. So like my goal is eventually, like I said, to get to that world standard where I'm making a good income from strongman and stuff like that, and doing YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, all that, where I can get a revenue coming in, and then I don't have to work at a bar no more, a college bar. I don't have to work at a prison no more. I can be at home and take him around the world and show him all new things and stuff like that.
You're the co-author of your life story. What's your storybook ending?
It'd be me at World's Strongest Man holding up the trophy, being, the World's Strongest Man. I mean, to me, that's the alpha male title. There's nothing more alpha than saying, hey, I'm the strongest man in the world right now. And that's where I could see it just ending. Because like I said, my goal is eventually, once I hit World's Strongest Man, is I want to quit the sport and focus everything on my son, with him growing up and being in sports. So that could be part two of that story is him then.
That's it.
Sweet.